But a constitution of government, once changed from freedom, can never be restored. Liberty, once lost, is lost forever.
Will, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day, we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States when men were free.
Liberty is almost always found within the framework of a Republican form of government where the primacy of the individual is recognized, as well as unalienable rights are protected and preserved, and just as important, where the individual understands his obligation.
Liberty to me is the freedom to have self-determination. I want to be able to accomplish what it is I want to accomplish without government intervention and government regulation.
Liberty is about natural rights. It comes from nature. It comes from God.
It means to be able to get up every morning and live unencumbered by somebody else's rule, somebody else's regulation, somebody else's restriction.
And when you ask me what is liberty, I think to my idol and my hero, Red Skelton, who in 1969 created this piece called The Pledge of Allegiance. And in it, he defines each word of the Pledge of Allegiance. And when he gets to that word, liberty, he says, liberty, which is freedom, and the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fears, or some sort of retaliation. I don't think I can add much to that.
I know not what others may choose, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death.
I was one of many Americans who took my liberty for granted. I did not entirely appreciate the sacrifices that were made by our founders, and I certainly did not stop to think for a second what life in America would be like without liberty. That is until Barack Hussein Obama became our 44th President of the United States.
The intent of our founding fathers in drafting the Constitution was to establish a way to allow the people to live in a civilized society where certain unalienable rights are protected and where a government is established that remains small enough to protect those rights. The contrary is allowing a government to become so big that it becomes tyrannical and begins to abuse their power and take away their rights, the rights of the people.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
It was a remarkable political document that paved the way for where we are now, and to say that it also reflected the fundamental flaw of this country that continues to this day.
We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
Obama's words and actions during the first 2 years of his presidency revealed that he had a radically different vision for America's future compared to that of our founders. A vision that has been shared with other progressives since the early 1900s when the progressive movement gained traction. Both Woodrow Wilson and Franklin D. Roosevelt wanted to centralize power within the government. They believed that it was the role of government to provide security to the people, to create equal outcomes rather than protect equal opportunities, to take from those that have and give to those that have not.
You see, Marxist thought has permeated so many layers of our society, from education to churches to political to your neighborhood school board. It really has infiltrated itself in subtle and not so subtle ways in all strata of our society.
We intend to restore faith in our founding principles and demand for a constitutionally limited government, free markets, fiscal responsibility, and individual liberty for all Americans. We the people believe that security and prosperity comes with individual liberty and self-reliance and not from the government.
The default condition of humanity is slavery. The miracle of this country is that we decided that individual liberty Rights from God protected by a limited government. That's the miracle of this country. That was a revolutionary idea, and I believe it's as valid today as it was then.
Through our educational seminars, community gatherings, and outreach to the youth, we intend to restore what liberty means. We're teaching the Constitution, discussing public policies and laws, and how they affect individual rights, our communities, and businesses.
The average person may not really understand the implications for a business owner and a business employee of government's increasing size. Limited government means more individual freedoms, which means more individual successes. That's why I'm such a strident supporter of the Arizona Mainstream Project.
The natural progress of things is for liberty to yield and government to gain ground.
I was delighted to be asked to work and help with Arizona Mainstream Project because they really are doing something very, very different. Educating people about the issues and allowing them to come up with their own conclusions and judgments once the information has been presented to them. No other group in town is doing that. Lots of groups are opining on issues and writing policy papers, but Arizona Mainstream Project is really a chance for every American to be able to sit down and listen and learn.
What I liked when I heard about the Arizona Mainstream Project is that its founder and others working with it thought the same way I thought.
We successfully launched our educational courses this summer, offering talks on Islam and the Muslim Brotherhood, foreign policy, communism, rights of crime victims, gun rights and laws, seminars on the Constitution, and we even had our first panel discussion to address the issues with the Raza Studies program in Tucson. Teaching the Constitution is the cornerstone of this organization, and we are proud and excited to have Shane Krautzer on board to do just that.
How can you defend a Constitution if you don't know what it is, if you don't know what it entails? How can you defend certain rights that you enjoy if you don't know what they are? I want them to be those watchdogs out on the hill, ensuring that those protections are indeed protected.
Shane is doing a wonderful job. I thought I had a pretty good handle on the Constitution until I came to this class. I've read it, I thought I understood it, but I found out that I had a lot more to learn here, and I'm doing that. It's a wonderful course. It's worth every penny and every minute of my time.
I think it's absolutely essential that every American understand his Constitution and the bedrock principles that our founders based our country on.
When I came here 34 years ago and I look at where America is today, it is absolutely not the same country. The government has slowly but surely eroded our rights. They have moved away from the Constitution. And I understand what it's like to live in a police state. I'm from a police state. I was a part of the system. And it's not somewhere that Americans are going to want to go. The problem is once we're there, there's very little chance of coming back again.
And how do you fix the problem? You've got to change the dynamic of the discussion that is going on in this country. Instead of asking ourselves whether a piece of legislation is good or bad, or what the Supreme Court has done is good or bad, we need to start asking ourselves and questioning from a constitutional perspective. Is it constitutional?
And then you become your own little expert. And then you go out to your groups, your constituents, and you talk to your friends and your partners at work, and your boyfriends and your girlfriends and your spouses and your children and your grandchildren.
Once the American people begin to understand that and start changing that dynamic, we're going to see a drastic change. I am sure of this. We will see a change because now, as we move forward and start holding our representatives accountable, they understand what the American people expect in return.
In order to educate a larger audience across Arizona and potentially across the country, we look forward to offering free access to live streams of our seminars and events from our website.
There are lots of individuals that don't have the ability to pick up and come to a meeting and sit through a session, but they will be absolutely ready to sit down in front of a computer or some kind of a device to watch a recast or a live cast of that presentation. It's a vital part of Arizona Mainstream Project, and I think it will work significantly well, and again, it's what makes AMP different.
Regardless of your party affiliation, we want to provide a welcoming and fun environment where we can start having real conversations about the issues we face today.
One of the ideas that AMP has brought forward is an idea of having picnics in the park. not to talk about, quote, politics per se, but to talk about issues associated with the political climate in America and how we sort out those ideas among ourselves at the local community level.
One of our events we look forward to hosting each year is our annual Patriot Dinner Banquet. We started this tradition last October, and we hope to continue this tradition year after year.
Our annual banquet brings awareness to our cause and raises funding, but more importantly, our intention is to bring the community together, to hear inspiring speakers like Tammy Bruce and Bill Whittle. We hope they light a fire in your belly and motivate you to get involved.
In addition to educating and empowering voters of today, Arizona Mainstream Project hopes to extend educational opportunities to young Americans who are the future guardians of our liberty.
A primary objective should be the education of our youth in the science of government.
Our young children need to recognize that they're not pawns, that they're individuals that hold and will hold in the future significant power.
First thing you have to do is you have to instill a sense of why does it matter to them? Why would they care?
One of the things that's really, really frustrating as you watch kids through the public education process, even private education, is their inability to understand they have so many choices, and the choices are not limited to what they're seeing in school.
Vladimir Lenin said, "Give me your youth for 4 years and I will plant the seeds that will never be uprooted." So I think each of us needs to contemplate what it means to be bringing up the next generation.
We're a grassroots team that needs support from our community. We're grateful for any contribution you can make so we can expand our efforts and reach our goals.
Programs like the Arizona Mainstream Project don't happen without funding, and it's a very tough ask in this day's economy and in this environment to find funders and corporate sponsors. I know it's an important avenue for Arizona corporations and small businesses to participate in. I hope there's an opportunity for you and your business members and your friends to support Arizona Mainstream in any way that makes sense for you.
Unfortunately, the left is very well funded, and oftentimes those of us on the conservative side of the aisle are not as well funded. And that may come as a surprise to some people who think that conservatives and Republicans and Tea Partiers are all astroturfed and well-funded and the beneficiaries of some big organization that's providing all of the impetus for this movement. In reality, it's just the opposite.
We are freedom-loving Americans just like you, who are concerned about the direction our country is taking. We work on a completely volunteer basis, allowing all your contributions to go directly towards funding and expanding our educational programs and community outreach.
Is a great opportunity for Americans, regardless of political affiliation, to learn more about the principles and the things that made America the country that it is.
There is no one offering these classes to the extent that Arizona Mainstream Project offers them.
Because then you go out with a little more knowledge and you can become sort of a talk host that is hosting an issue, whatever that issue is that turns you on. Then you're a mini expert and you're more knowledgeable and you tell the next guy. It's all in the education.
Education is the key to democracy. It's the key to the republic in which we live. It is the key to understanding social responsibility. It is the key to fostering liberty.
Thomas Jefferson, in writing the Declaration of Independence, recognized a profound, painful truth, and that is that people generally will do nothing, even in the face of ongoing governmental abuse of power.
And if we don't wake up and if we don't help each other to see the light, then the light of freedom could go out, as Ronald Reagan said, and plunge us into 1,000 years of darkness. I don't want to see that happen.